Good evening, everybody, to my teachers and to seniors, and thank you for Dr. Chandra for giving me this opportunity. So my topic is actually Tower for AR, and are we yet there? So, so as we all know, Tower has become now the standard of treatment for symptomatic severe AS in last 15 years, and it is proven to be non-inferior to SAVR in almost all groups, now and low risk, and the numbers of Tower are growing very fast and SAVR is going down. But for pure AR, still there is an issue. So pure AR incidence, as we know, is almost 13 to 15%, and if it is symptomatic, the mortality is very high. So definitely something has to be done. Treatment is still the surgery, which is gold standard. So the problems are because in AR, why Tower can't be done. There are multiple issues. We'll discuss one by one. So till now, it is a relative contraindication, but still off-label, many persons are using it with successful results. So although it's a contraindication, but there are many situations where you can use it, like in patient with failing PHV, it's an on-label indication now. For native aortic stenosis, it's an on-label indication if there is association of AS with AR, but for a pure AR, it's not an indication till now, but people are using it off-label. So why there's a problem in severe AS? There are some issues like in severe AS, there is pressure overload, concentric LVH, and afterload mismatch. In AR, it's volume overload, eccentric hypertrophy, and LV dilation and dysfunction. So the problem is that leaflets are degenerated and annulus and ascending aorta are dilated. So the holding of the Tower valve is difficult because there is no anchor available. As is shown in this picture, that in AS there is severe calcification and thickening of the valve, but in AR it is dilatation of the annulus and the leaflets are thinned out. So anchoring is difficult, visualization is not very good because the calcium is not there, and there is more risk of embolization. So this is a CT image just to show what is the difference. So you can see annulus in AR is dilated, there is no calcium, so anchoring is difficult as compared to AS. So what are the major technical challenges? So first challenge is insufficient anchoring because there is no calcium available at the annulus level. So there is more chance that while device can jump out. There is increased stroke volume and aortic root is dilated, so there is more chance of embolization and malposition. There is always a risk of residual AR because annulus is quite big, and because sometimes we are oversizing too much to match with the annulus, there is more risk of rupture because we don't want it to embolize. So with considering all these situations, generally self-running valve is preferred over a balloon expandable valve in these situations. But definitely we require a dedicated valve, although there are some valves available like Jena NJ, but they are still not in the routine use, they are in trial. So this, I'll just show you one or two cases. So this is one of the case with severe AR and very mild AS with LV dysfunction, EF was 30%, which was having COPD, follow-up case of CA breast with chest sedation, STS score was high. So she was considered for Tower. These are the parameters. So it shows that annulus is quite small, mean of just 17, perimeter of just 53. Otherwise, cannulus and peripheral scores are okay, but you can see there is no calcium. So almost no calcium in this, and this is an example that the valve leaflets are quite thickened, but there is no calcium. So definitely anchoring can be difficult. There can be more risk embolization. So we thought of an Evolute R23 valve, which is almost 23% oversized. So it's very important that we have to have oversize, which is 15 to 20% or even more. Then only there is a chance that valve will hold. So this is a fluoro image showing a severe AR and the valve position. So valve is positioned quite high. So we were worried about pop out also, but this is the position before implant, and then finally it was implanted and with a good result. And luckily it didn't pop out and the size was quite adequate. Another patient recovered quite well, EF also recovered. Another patient, almost same situation, but annulus was quite dilated. He was having AS also, but there is still again no calcium. So if there is no calcium, anchoring is always an issue. Coronaries are sufficiently in height, so we are not worried about that. There is some calcium at annulus level, so this was a saving grace. And so we were thinking that because of this some calcium, we could get away with it. You can see there is calcium here, and the valve was positioned. So the position was okay at this point, but then it was going down. So we recaptured it and positioned it again. Again, you can see that it is on one side is quite low, on the other side is quite high. So again, it was recaptured almost 3 times. It was recaptured, and then finally it was implanted. So here it was looking comparatively better, and it was released. But as soon as we released it, again slipped down. You can see that this is the line where this annulus is, and it's almost 6 to 8 millimeter below the annulus. So we checked for hemodynamics and pressure. There was severe AR. So we would plan for a second valve. Again, if you're planning for a second valve, like Dr. Seth has discussed, now it's a valve and valve. So you have to be very cautious about coronaries. Coronaries should not be occluded. So you can't be very high, otherwise you will make a tube up to STJ, and you can't be very low, otherwise it will not benefit. So it has to be positioned correctly. And this was the 80% release and checked on T that there is no AR, PVL is closed, and then this is final release. With final release, you can just see it's just 3 mm above the previous valve, and patient recovered very well, although definitely because of the low implant, patient required a PPI, but discharge and totally asymptomatic follow-up. So it's important that we have to have a proper CT assessment of the patient to decide what size and which valve we want to require. And there should be at least 15-20% oversize. For a balloon expandable, you can't do too much oversizing, but for a self-funding, you can do up to 20-25% oversizing. So you should know how much oversizing you are doing. It should be done under GA and TE guidance to know if there's any complication. Sometimes if there's no calcium, you can use 2 pigtails in 2 sinuses to assess the level of sinus. BAV definitely is not required, and pacing is very important by deployment. So these are the valves which are available with us in India, but now there are some dedicated valves available for TAVR. So all are used, and you can see that everyone has tried them, and these are the multiple case studies for multiple valves used. All these are isolated small case studies. There is no RCT. For Evolute, the maximum experience is there that we are basically depending on oversizing and friction between the valve and the leaflets. So there is more risk of embolization. The reported rate is almost 18 to 20%, and mortality is also high. So this is definitely not an ideal thing. But what you can do is you can use 2 pigtails. So what is ideal is some dedicated valve which is anchoring on, not on annulus, but on the valve leaflets, so that there is no risk of embolization. So there is one valve, GINA valve available. There are other good parts in this also, that basically in normal valves, we can't align leaflets with the native valve, but in this you can align leaflets with the native valve. This has this extra advantage. So definitely these kind of dedicated valves with aligned leaflets and anchoring at the annulus level and the sinus level. What they are doing is basically they are implanting one valve at the sinus level, which is inside the leaflets. So this is the initial frame, and on that frame the valve is implanted. So there is no risk of embolization down or up, and the position is very accurate, and there is no risk of AR even if there is no calcium. So this is just an example. It's not available in India yet, so we have no experience of this, but this is how this happens. That the first frame is aligned and then positioned in the sinus, and then the valve is released, so which gives a very good result. And these are the different studies done on TAVR in AR. Initial studies were done on initial generation valves, and the complications were quite high. Mortality and second valve requirement was also quite high. And the last study was done on dedicated GINA valve, 100%, and the success rate was quite high. So with this, I just want to conclude that SAVR is still the gold standard, but TAVR can be done in inoperable cases if there is associated AS, but you have to know that there is increased risk of complications. And for a dedicated pure AR, still the dedicated device is under development. But if there is significant calcium and fibrosis and annulus in adequate size, you can still do it, although it's an off-label, so it should be very high risk for surgery, then only we should try it. Technically, it's more challenging, may require more valves, but definitely with dedicated valves, results are improving. And what we require now is a RCT with dedicated valves, which can give us an on-label indication and availability of these valves. So with this, I just want to conclude and say that TAVI is not yet a standard of care for native pure AR, but possibly in near future it will be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nagendra. I think you stuck to time very well. Exactly 10 minutes. I think we should go ahead and see at the end, if we have some time, we'll have questions. And so we should move to Ravinder Rao. And Ravinder, long-term durability of TAVR mechanisms and predictors is your talk. So over to Ravinder.